You're listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday, if you happen to be listening on Thursday, or whatever day you're listening to. Hope you're having a good day, too. It's been a fun week around here. Lots of things going on. And lots of things going on next week, which is what we're going to talk about. But if you're new here, here's a warning. We like to have as much fun as we like to have, as we like to be informative. How's that sound for you? Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we're going to have some big announcements. We'll see. But that's the plan. So stay tuned. There might be something good going on. If you're new here, be sure to give God90.com a look and check that out. Don't forget the books are available, which is part of the big announcement. No, there's not a new one. Don't worry.
That was the next thing they're going to be. Are you getting a new one?
I am being supervised and monitored very
Hello,
closely
everyone.
by two people tonight. Myra's here, of course, and our oldest granddaughter is here with us as well, visiting for, well, she goes back tomorrow. But
Yes.
It's been fun having her here.
It has.
We have enjoyed it. I'm not going to really get to talk about what I planned to talk about tonight because something else came up. I've been getting a lot of questions about the upcoming eclipse. So we're going to sort of combine the two. Hopefully I will get to talk about what I wanted to talk about another time, but that's okay. I have been getting messages and emails from people, and it's almost like they're being terrorized by everybody talking about the eclipse that's coming up this week. And of course, it's only happening in the United States. And I know that we reach people around the world, and people around the world are going, what's the big deal? What are y'all worried about? It's an eclipse. Happens, we can predict them. It's not that big a deal. So I'm going to sort of combine these things because they are kind of connected in a weird sort of a way. But they might not be at the same time. So we're going to look at a passage from Malachi. And this should be fairly familiar to you if you want to read that Malachi passage.
The Lord says, "You have said terrible things about me. But you ask, what have we said about you? You have said, it is useless to serve God. It did no good to obey his laws, and it did no good to show the Lord of heaven's armies that we are sorry for what we did. So we say that proud people are happy. Evil people succeed. They challenge God and get away with it. Then those who honored the Lord spoke with each other. The Lord listened and heard them. The names of those who honored the Lord and respected him were written in a book. The Lord will remember them. The Lord of heaven's army says, they belong to me. On that day they will be my very own. A father shows mercy to his son who serves him. In the same way I will show mercy to my people. You will again see the difference between good and evil people. You will see the difference between those who serve God and those who do not." Malachi chapter 3, verses 13 through 18.
All right. So what I was actually going to talk about tonight was how we have actually come to the point where we're calling evil good and good evil. But how does all that fit in with what's going on with the eclipse this week? I'm glad you asked. You know, let's start by saying a lot of people, well, let's just put it bluntly, they're saying some nasty things about the Almighty, right? And it's been going on for a while. And it doesn't matter which group you go to, what their agenda is. Some people, and this kind of didn't surprise me. NASA's going to send up some rockets during the eclipse. And the name of one of the rockets they're going to launch is APEP. Now, APEP is the name of an Egyptian serpent god who wanted to block out the sun. And I'm not saying this to scare you, right? NASA launches a lot of rockets. And the people who build them get to choose the name. And they have a lot of strange names. And these scientists love to use the names of mythological characters. They love to use the names of mythological gods and goddesses. I don't know why. It's just something they do because it's in their realm of expertise, I guess. And it's not a coincidence, though, that APEP, wanting to block out the sun, is going to be launched during an eclipse. Makes sense. You know, if I was a scientist and I wanted to get your attention, that's what I would do, right? Makes sense. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this to inform you. And I'm kind of laughing about it at the same time because hopefully we know better. You know, we could probably call Bill Gates APEP today because what's he trying to do with the boat off the coast of Australia? They're polluting the atmosphere with particles to block out the sun. What's the difference? I don't really see one. Just saying. Nothing happens by coincidence. It's all by design. Now, at the same time, and here's what gets really frustrating for me. If you're familiar with the particle accelerator in CERN, Switzerland, they're going to activate it again. And this is nothing new, right? Because the scientists want to understand gravity much better. You know, the particle accelerator works on two principles, gravity and magnetism. They're on the other, well, not exactly on the other side of the Earth, but they're close to it. So they want to experiment with how the moon aligning with the sun on the opposite, near the opposite side of the Earth, I should say, how it's going to affect what they're doing. It's a perfectly reasonable scientific experiment, sort of. There's better ways to test it, but it works. Now, here's where I get to brag just a little bit on farmers. Because farmers used to be fairly intelligent. For years and years and years, farmers would plant according to the moon signs. This wasn't some astrological thing that they did. It wasn't voodoo. It wasn't magic. They were wise enough to know. Yeah, my granddaughter's making faces at me when I say that thing. They were smart enough to know that the moon affects the tides and it affects the moisture in the ground. Where the moon is compared to where it is above the earth affects groundwater and ground moisture just like it affects tides. nothing astrological about it. It's all astronomical. It's all very creation-based science, actually. Now, here's where it gets a little weird, and it might sound a little hoodooey, but depending on where the moon is in its correlation to where the Earth is and where you are on the Earth at the time, depends on how the moon's going to affect the moisture in your ground. So if you plant root-based crops like potatoes and carrots, sweet potatoes, you can say it out loud.
Beets and turnips.
Beets and turnips. Things that grow in the earth are going to require the moisture to be at a lower level in the ground when you plant them than other crops like tomatoes and peas and peppers and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and that kind of thing. They want the moisture to be higher in the ground to bring that moisture up into the leaves. Again, nothing magical, but it is very creation-designed science. The CERN accelerator works on gravity and magnetism. They want to figure out how it's going to affect what they do. Makes perfect sense. If I was going to build something like that, I'd want to know how it was going to be affected by gravity as well. The weird thing about this particular eclipse is we have a comet that's coming about the same time. There's always been strange phenomena of comets. And I think it actually comes from mankind being afraid of the signs in the sky. It's just that simple. Sometimes people are just, to put it very bluntly, too stupid to look up and see what's going on. We're more focused on what we're doing with what's right in front of us than we are with the world around us. Now, the history of comets and eclipses has some phenomena that go with it. Apparently, in 1811, there was an eclipse associated with a comet, and it actually caused a severe earthquake in the central part of the United States. Was it coincidence? Was it gravity-based? We really don't have enough information to say one way or the other. Up until now, I've been skeptical and a little sarcastic, although everything I've said can be verified through historical sources. But here is what we know about solar eclipses from the biblical viewpoint. They're signs, and they're very predictable signs. We know that the ancient people recognized them. They were able to predict them. We know when they're going to occur because of the orbit of the sun and the moon. Today, because we've developed some very, very good mathematics, some very, very good way of tracking things, we can predict a eclipse, either solar or lunar, within a few nanoseconds, less than the blink of an eye. We know exactly when it's going to occur. We also know that, and here's where things get a little hinky. We know that there are people out there who are telling you to be afraid. It's how they raise their money. And that's what, it's going on again. It's happening. I've had people send me doomsday videos. I've had people send me weird messages. And they all have one thing in common. Everybody wants your money. So don't be deceived. We to put it very sarcastically, we need to stop the lunacy. Okay? Now, if you're listening to me and you just have to give your money away, go to givegod90.com, hit that donate button often. Okay? I'll be happy to take it from you. No problems, no questions asked. Send me your money, your gold. I don't want your firstborn. You can keep them. I've raised enough. But seriously, just stop. Why are you afraid? Why are you worried? Why are you concerned? You might be surprised, though, who some of these messages are coming from. I have used Jonathan Cahn a lot for some negative things on this podcast. And surprisingly, he's actually getting this one kind of right. He's taking that we need to wait and see what happens approach. But others, I'm surprised at. They're playing on your fear. They're playing on your emotions. They're playing to get your money. And this is no time to be afraid, and this is no time to sell your house and give everything away. Could something happen? Yeah. But you know what? Something could happen in 4 or 5 seconds that could change the world. Something can happen in the next few minutes that would cause you to stop and go, oh, I didn't see that coming. Our Creator created the sun, the moon, and the stars as his calendar to show us his majesty and his glory and his plan. He gives us the sun, the moon, the stars, stretch them out in the heavens to see the glory of his universe that he created for our benefit and our use. They're his roadmap to his plan. The problem that we have today is we are so far from creation, we've forgotten how to read the signs that are there. We just, for some reason, lost the ability to understand what's going on. I know a lot of people point back at the ancients and they say, oh, they were so superstitious. It's not that they were superstitious, it's that they understood. Everything happens for a reason. They knew what was going on. Well, most of them knew what was going on. Some of the ones that were less familiar were frightened, of course. But the ones who understood it, the ones who saw it, knew what was going on. They understood it. They could predict it. They knew what was going to happen. They knew when it was going to happen. Chances are they knew what it was for. Today, we know when it's going to happen. We know what it is. We know what causes it. But we've lost the ability to understand and read what it means. We need to stop listening to the doomsday people, the prophecies. They're trying to convince you that this is going to be an end of the world event. And it's not. You're not going to need somebody to tell you the world has ended. You're going to know. It's just that simple. And yes, I'm being sarcastic. But you're going to know. They play on your fear. They play on your emotions. And there's a lot of people out there that are laughing at us because we see these things for what they are, and we wonder what they're going to mean. Some people will even call you a hypocrite because you think, well, because God created the sun, the moon, and the stars as his calendar, and these things happen, it's got to mean something. Well, it does. What's he trying to tell us? I wish I could tell you, but we've lost that information. We can look in history and say, well, this happened, that happened, and that happened. What it means this time around, until it happens, we don't know. Does it actually do any good to serve a God who can't see or can't answer? No, it doesn't. But the creator of the universe, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he can see, he can answer, he can hear you. What happens as a result of this event is out of our control, but it's in his control. I'm not going to pretend that I can tell you what it means. I can't. I don't have that information. It's been lost to history. But I can tell you this. There is no earthquake that can shake so hard that you're going to be separated from your Creator. No storm can thunder so loud that he can't hear you. There's no darkness where you can hide from him either. Now is not the time for fear. So get over it. We like to say, suck it up, Buttercup, right? Suck it up. Stand your ground. Keep your faith. You know, if you're hearing the people who think that they need to make you afraid, turn off their noise. Listen for the same thing that Elijah heard. That still, small voice after all the turmoil, after the fire and after the earthquake, after the dust has settled, you can hear that still, small voice, knowing that you have placed your trust in the one that spoke your name, the one that put you together for a reason and a purpose, the one who will stand by you, the one who will protect you, the one you can trust, the one you don't have to worry about because he's not going to leave you, no matter how dark it is, no matter how hard the wind blows, no matter how hard the earth shakes. Now, does that mean that you're going to be immortal through all this? Absolutely not. Don't be ridiculous. It means you are his and he will protect his own. Should we be prepared? Yeah, we should. Because there's a lot of people going to be doing some really dumb stuff out there in the next few days. You know, some states in the United States have already sent out the National Guard. They've declared states of emergency because they're going to have so many people flocking to certain areas that they don't know what's going to happen because they have so many visitors in these localized areas that aren't prepared for it. Should we be concerned? Yeah. Things can happen. A lot of people traveling. A lot of people on the road. And the weather that's being predicted, you're not going to be able to see the eclipse anyway. They're expecting some fairly severe weather in some of these areas. And when you have that many people in a localized area and bad weather, bad things can happen. Do you need to be ready for that? Yeah, you do. I'm not going to lie to you. You need to make sure that you have what you need, whether it's food, water, prescription medicine, whatever you need. Make sure you have it ahead of time, just like any other event. You know, I'm surprised they don't do this for the Super Bowl as well, because so many people get together to watch the Super Bowl that it sort of blocks traffic in certain areas. Certain businesses are closed. You know, it's not like any other large event. Do we need to be concerned? Well, yes and no. We need to watch what's happening. We need to be aware of what's happening. Do we need to be afraid? Absolutely not. Fear is what the enemy uses, hoping to get us to reject the Almighty. And I've said a lot of times before, killing us is not the worst thing Satan can do to us. The worst thing that he can do is cause us to reject the Almighty. Could it get to be a bumpy ride? For a couple of days, probably. If enough bad things happen and enough people are dumb enough to do something about it, yeah. But what's the difference between that and a political event? What's the difference between that and what happened in, was it Michigan or Minnesota a couple years ago? Can it be worse than COVID? Probably not. COVID lasted a long time. We're still feeling the effects of it. I don't think this is going to last that long. The one thing we need to hold on to is the trust in our Creator, because He will guide you. And hopefully, when this is over, there's going to be some people look at you. They're going to see you're calm. They're going to see you're just living your life the way you were designed to live it. And they're going to say, how come you're not terrified? Weren't you afraid of what's happening? Hopefully your answer to them is going to be, I'm fine. Because I trust my Creator. I trust the one who spoke my name. I trust the one that tells me I am His special treasure. I trust the one that holds my future in the palm of His hand. I trust the one who can, with nothing more than the word of His mouth, than the words coming, the breath coming out of His mouth, can change my world. Don't be afraid. It's not the time for fear. There's never a good time for fear. Fear causes you to do dumb things. Fear is what gets you hurt. Fear is what gets you in trouble. Do you need to be aware of what's going on? Yeah, you do. But you don't need to listen to the doomsday people on this one. If the world would happen to end this week, what would you do to change it? What would you do different? But what you can do to get ready for it, you can do right now. And that's put your trust where it needs to be. Hopefully, you've already done that. If you're listening to me, you probably already have. And if you haven't, now's a good time to change. So until next week, we wish you many, many blessings, everyone.
Yes, we do.
Stay safe, stay aware.